Hello and welcome to the Bigger, Braver Life Show. I'm your host, Angela Marie Williams. As an entrepreneur and success coach, my mission is to empower you to realize your dreams and potential through transformational experiences. The purpose of this show is to inspire your positive change by learning from a community of those paving the way to a bigger, braver life. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Angela Williams. I am your success coach, your braver life coach, and I'm so excited to support you in your journey of living a bigger, braver life. On this show today, we have a wonderful guest. Her name is Julix, and I'm so excited to hear about her journey and have her share this with you all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Julix Córdova Rivera, and I am the creator of Seizing You, which is basically an online community for women of color currently on their self journey or thinking about starting their self journey, and specifically providing content and resources for the women that are asking the question, who am I? Outside of Seizing You and the roles I play, I'm a mom of two. I have been married for a little over 10 years now, but we've been with my husband for about 17 years. And I've been working in the space of advising and coaching for quite a while now, and currently as well a success coach, and graduated with my master's in counseling, and in Seizing You, marrying all of that goodness in one space.
So first of all, tell us how you are living your bigger, braver life.
Yeah. So I feel like this has been a process ever evolving, one that started years ago for sure, but intentionally, I would say about 6 years ago. It all started with therapy. It started with therapy and finding myself and kind of unpacking and unlearning and rediscovering who I am and the beauty of it all. So I think that in that process, it really empowered me to find the little things that really kept me away from who I am, and really learning what has, I would say, not just life, but the traumas that come with life that teach you to kind of tuck away the little pieces of you that are not welcomed, and you get lost in it. So for me, the braver life comes in unpacking all of that and facing all parts of you, and speaking for myself, all parts of me, and doing that intentionally on a daily. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. This is so important to talk about. And, I think there's a lot of folks in the community that's listening that really want to hear this message and learn more about themselves and continually grow and expand and all of that. But I want to hear a little bit more before we get into your program. I want to hear a little more about your background, your education, and kind of your journey as you through working and life and all of that.
Yeah, so I am originally from Puerto Rico, and I lived there for 9 years and later moved on to South Florida. Once I graduated high school, I moved on to Central Florida, and I've been here ever since. I always knew I was going to have my own business. That's something that's really kind of, I wouldn't say expected, but definitely a big part of my family. A lot of my aunts, and they played a major role in my life, kind of like second moms. And many of them had their own business. So it was, and my grandma had her own business, being single mom and of six, and rocking it either way and getting it done. And yeah, it's definitely deeply ingrained in me. So I knew I was going to have a business of my own. I also knew that it was going to be focused on women and sisterhood and community. How I was going to do that, I had no clue before.
Right.
Once I did my bachelor's, because I had that idea, I did my bachelor's in organizational management.
Smart. Okay.
Yeah. So I figured, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to figure out what we're going to do with it and move forward. Eventually, I did my master's in counseling, and initially thought I was going to do practice. And in the midst of that process of self-discovery and being really in tune with what energizes me and what doesn't, that's where I was like, okay, practice, not going to be the plan. And I'm definitely going to get creative with all of the wealth and the knowledge that I've learned in this program. And that's where Seizing You came about.
So, was there a particular moment or a particular thought you had that sparked you to create this company?
So we, towards the end of the program, have to come up with a community organization. And I at first thought that I was just going to do something for the sake of the project and that's it. And because I was so in love with it, Angela, I just kept thinking about it and kind of obsessing over it. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually do this. There's been plenty of times in my life where I dream away and then I haven't done it because of the stage that I'm in terms of wanting to feed my soul and feed what brings me joy. This is one of them, and making sure that I'm not staying stuck in the different roles that I play and think that that has to be all of life, like example, being a mom, being a wife, etc., and being able to do it as well, being able to do my own thing.
I love it. And you touched on so many pieces I want to kind of go back to. The first thing is, it sounds like you were brought up in a family that valued that entrepreneurship and that business, owning their own business. And I kind of had a similar piece where my father owns currently his own business, and my grandfather and uncles own their own business. So that was something I was exposed to. And I love that, you kind of mentioned like this was like not the almost the expectation, but this was like the norm almost.
It's deeply rooted. Yeah, for
Deeply
sure.
rooted. Yeah. And I'm curious. I know for me, when I looked at these individuals owning their own business, it was really attractive to me, the elements of being able to choose something that you were good at or that you wanted to do, set your own hours. There was a lot of elements of like the time freedom for me and that money freedom. You can kind of work as much or as little as you want. So tell me what attracted you further to that beyond it was normal in the family.
Now as you're speaking and you were kind of sharing your experience or your interpretation of their experience, I remember thinking, oh, I don't know if I want to own my own business, even though I had thought about it, because I saw from their perspective, right? And from my perspective of their experience,
Right.
I saw the stress that came with it.
Right.
And the fact that, yeah, you can build your own schedule, but yet because you're running the show, it almost felt like they were constantly doing it.
Right.
And in the process of now kind of diving in and saying, forget it, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
In that process, then I realized this is all about boundaries. This is all about learning how to create the spaces for you to thrive. And yeah, I feel like that's something that was definitely not being modeled unintentionally, right? I think sometimes you do what you know how to do, right? You do your best, and they did their best in modeling that for sure. And in that process, I learned, right, what to do and what not to do.
And I think you give really good examples because I would like to say I'm very optimistic. So the part of me that saw the attractive parts of this also did learn and see the other parts. I work really hard and it can be really intense. And, sometimes it feels almost married to this business.
Yeah.
It can
absolutely.
It can feel where you do have that element of control. It can also feel like you don't at times because you are, serving people and there's an expectation and all that. So that is something I'm glad you brought up. When I was in a coaching program with other women at Mastermind, that was some of the stuff we really, all of us to some extent, had to unpack of like maybe those things that were modeled or things that we saw our perspective from what was going on, that, there was those elements of working really hard and there's an expectation, right, to gain money, right? So that it was like, there was definitely the good and bad, if you will, the pros and cons, but being able to kind of detach, but that goes back to the choice. Like you can set the boundaries, you can put limits, and you can do what you need to do with that.
Yeah, it's certainly the process of unlearning. And that's a lot of the inner work. It's a lot of what I personally had to do and still continue to do and will forever do, because this programming of expectations are deeply rooted, are very ingrained in us. And if we don't stop, right, we don't stop to really pause and ponder, like, why am I doing this? Or, what led me to this point of my life? What exactly am I living for? What's my passion, what's my drive. But unlearning for sure, it's a big portion of that process of finding self for sure.
Yes.
I think that it's so important for us to really set the boundaries around and take the time to ponder and think about, is this my responsibility? Is this my burden? I think a lot of times we take on burdens that don't belong to us. And
100%.
that is the work. That's the
Right.
work because we're expected to. We're known for, as women, we're known for taking the load, and we don't have to.
Agreed. And, I think we do a lot of similar work with women, and it's really focused on, we are given these societal expectations, right, of being perfectly nice, caring for, right, doing all the things, taking that mental load and figuring things out, right? But it's about, like you said, truly asking ourselves and understanding, what can we handle? What is really ours to navigate? And right. And where can we put up a boundary or support ourselves so that we're not burned out, and so that we can kind of live our life in an enjoyable way as well.
Yeah. The question is, Angela, what is our capacity? What do we have the capacity for?
Yes.
And capacity can mean so many different things, right? So where I'm coming from is capacity in terms of the space, in terms of emotional and mental space. Do we have the capacity to take on this load? And not only that, does this load energize me? Does it drain me? What are going to be the boundaries for me to thrive in the process of supporting someone else, myself, my family, etc.?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And the more clear we are, I'm glad you brought this part up, the more clear that we are on our capacity, our boundaries, the things that we like to do, want to do, the better we're going to be able to make decisions confidently, to achieve success, because we're focused and we're saying no to the things that are going to drain us or that aren't our responsibility or that we have no business, right, doing. And, a lot this weeks, especially, I'm talking all the time, really, I'm talking to my clients that I've created a new program called the Braver Vision Jumpstart to kind of get us rocking and rolling with those pieces, this vision, the values, and the mission of our life, whether that's our personal or our career or business. Because again, I really can't stress this enough. The clearer we are in those elements, the faster we're going to see our success, the easier it is going to be for us to move along day to day. We're going to know exactly where we're going and how to get there. We're going to know why we've got this, like you kind of said, when you were describing your passion for seizing you were like, I was obsessed. I was thinking about it, right? It didn't go away. That was your mission. So and the values really to help kind of guide us and be able to honor what's important to us. So can you share with us maybe what one of those pieces of your vision, mission, or values is for yourself, your family, or your business?
Yeah, prior to starting Seizing You and really prior to starting my master's, because I had finished my bachelor's degree and then I was given some really wise advice to wait and gain the experience before I went for the master's degree and get out of debt and so on. So I said, okay, I took a while and worked, but I took a long while because, well, let me be gracious with myself, right? I took the time that I needed to get to that point, and I had my little ones and so on. So finally, I'm at a stage where I'm like, I need to really be intentional about what I'm doing with my career. And yes, I love advising for sure. But I want to narrow it down even more to what really drives me. And I came across this activity, and I am still trying to figure out where I found it because it was a random website, and it was about building your mission. And it asked questions about your values, your activities, what you love doing, what brings you joy, etc. And it literally put together the mission based on what you're putting together. So it's pretty much what you're doing with your group. And with that, I came up with my mission, which is now what drives what I choose to do, whether I choose to do it in my family, whether I choose to do it with friends, Seizing You, etc. And that is the mission of bridging the gap between self and others, specifically with women. That's my space, that's my jam. Via fruitful dialogue. So it's gaining the opportunity or seeking the opportunities to do that. And the way I started was by cultivating relationships with different women, whether, we had something in common or not. And then as time went by, my master's and now seizing you and so on.
I love that you had the drive to create that specified mission statement for yourself, and you can apply it. And that's where I think it's the best, right? Is where you can apply it to all aspects of your life. I think that a lot of people don't necessarily have these things in place, right? So that's where I feel like life just happened to us, or, we feel really stuck or stagnant, or we get burned out. It's because we don't have clearly defined vision, mission, and values.
Yeah.
Because I talk about a lot in my work that even my own self, I did not have a clear vision. It was a vision, but it wasn't, very clear, and it wasn't timed out, and it wasn't right. Like there wasn't more specifics there. And, my mission was very vague. So it was like to help people, but it's like, we got to be a little bit more, specific on that, right? Because that could be anything.
For sure.
And, after I started my business, I was then able to articulate my values, and I really didn't understand why I was getting so burned out on these other jobs and different things like that. And it was because after I really truly understood my values, that they were going against some of those higher values. So some of the values were kind of checked off on the job description, but the higher values. So for me, it's that time freedom, that freedom of choice, that money earning capability, that really wasn't there. So it was very, very eye opening to see that, and to be able to apply this to so many different things.
Yeah, I think it's definitely fruitful to be able to have that guide, that North Star, to kind of guide you in the process of decision making, and also something to just check back on, especially when it comes to our values and we're debating, do I want this job, or do I want to have this relationship? Do I want to, teach X, Y to my children? Definitely going back to the values and using that as a guide will always bring you that joy of fulfillment, of feeling like, okay, I'm making the right choice. I'm making a choice that aligns with what I stand for, what I believe in, what's my truth. And I think that's just a really great start, really, in any area of life.
Yeah. And there's so many applications for these things, right? I've expanded that to even, attracting in your ideal mate, and attracting, right? Like you were talking about, attracting a job that you're going to have a good fit with, and being able to ask your employer and, your colleagues, what are your values? What's important here? Make sure that matches yours. So I think that's so the clarity really. And I think that's a topic that you or a piece that you try to gravitate toward with your folks. If you want to share a little bit more about Seizing You, what it is, what it stands for, how you do things through that business.
Yeah. So Seizing You, it's currently an online community on Instagram right now. This is our ideation stage. This is where we're playing, we're getting creative, and we're putting the content out there to see what the community needs and wants, right? And what are we focused on? We're focused on that self journey. We're focused on, and when I say this self journey, I think a lot of people can relate, and specifically your audience and mine can relate to yearning for that self-care time that we all really need and deserve. And we all look forward to that, right? And I figured, absolutely. I came to learn about self-care way later in my life. And that was actually through the master's program. And I was like, what is this thing about self-care? What are you talking about? And it was brand new. It was foreign to me. Sure that I have hobbies and things like that, but was I intentional about them? Definitely not.
Right.
So finding the value in self-care, but then I ran into the problem, not just the fact that we don't have the time for it.
Right.
That's just a given, right? So that's something that we work through on being intentional about blocking the time for us to do that self-care. But it goes even deeper than that. It's about figuring out, who are we caring for, right? Because we say self-care, but who is self? Who is self? And that is the question we're diving into together as a community here at Seizing You. So if you're a woman of color, and really any woman can join, because we have all sorts of women. We even have men in the community
Yeah.
because they love the content, and I don't blame them. I love the
Yeah.
content. This is
I
for us.
do too. Y'all, everybody, I want you to go to Seizing You on Instagram.
Yes.
Beautiful. I mean, everything is aesthetically beautiful, but it's also full of amazing, just thought-provoking questions and
Yes.
things to think about and inspiration and love. Like it's just so full of love. So I totally recommend
Thank
everyone
you.
who's listening or watching, to go and check it out.
Thank you so much, Angela. Yeah, it's definitely intentional. You will definitely find questions to ponder on. You will find journaling prompts. You will also find just space for you to really question, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I doing this? Do I want to do this? Right now, we are just in Instagram, but we are definitely discovering new ways to connect, and we'll definitely be keeping the community posted on that for sure.
Hey, that's so exciting. Yeah. So, I mean, who doesn't need another place to be inspired and feel love and support themselves on their journey? So, thank you for doing this, right? I mean, one of the big things, just living your bigger, braver life, it's about, like you said earlier, you having this calling on your heart, not ignoring it. Number one, right? We are going to go after it. And number two, not really caring about the how. Like it doesn't matter. That's going to come. It's going to naturally fall into place.
Yeah.
Mentors and examples, there's everything, coaching that you can get to support you if you're starting a business and kind of worried about all of these elements. But it's the thing that you need to do first is recognize that call, that urge within, and take that braver step to move it forward. So thank you for doing that. Safe spaces and loving spaces online. Are you doing anything in person or is it more online right now?
So it's not in person yet. Certainly something that I am open to. Obviously, with the pandemic, I'm being wise and taking those steps. We will definitely start online first. So Zooming and events online. The other thing that I welcome is the opportunity to speak to your community. So I'll certainly come out and speak to your community if you have a group of women that are interested in this conversation. Also, I'm not necessarily coaching right now. That's certainly down the line because I am working my full time as well. I always welcome, and I say it in the captions, but people may be shy. Please reach out to me. It is my joy to talk about this and unpack with you and gather. So it'll be a joy for sure to connect with you all.
Love that. Thank you for offering that too. And I encourage people to, reach out and join the community online. Another great place. And at the end of this episode, we'll have all the information where you can reach Julix or the community. I'm so excited for that. So what would you actually, this is another great point. I'm glad you brought up working like a full-time job and having this, this passion that you're also working on. So for those folks who maybe are doing a full-time job, but that's not maybe their number one mission or passion, what advice would you give them? What would you share with them?
Yeah, I would say, first and foremost, take the time to figure out what you want to do, what you want. Take the time to, if you can, right? If you can partner with a coach like Angela, if you can partner with a coach or anyone, really, you can partner with me as well. Whichever route you take, I say first focus on you and figuring out what makes you tick, what gives you the energy, what brings you joy. Really take the time to ponder on that to then build something from there.
Love that. Yes.
Want to do something that you're going to want to come home to, right? You want to do something that you want to come to. We understand also, I personally understand, and from personal experience, we can't always leave our full-time job. That's not a privilege that we all have, and that's okay. I think working with what the time that you do have, you get creative, you find your community. I am still in the process of building that community of support. So if you are one of those women, like there's a video that says, if you're a woman that's supporting other women, come to me. Hey girl, I'm that girl.
Let's go.
We're these girls.
Right.
So find your community and also build accountability. Not just because I feel sometimes we do it on our own. one of the things that I did was reach out to my friends and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Okay.
Please keep me accountable. Like, ask me about it. That way is very upfront and personal. And I remember, well, there was no way of not thinking. Literally, I was like waking up and thinking about CCU when I was going to bed. So there was no way. But I think accountability is crucial, especially in the not so fun parts of business, because it's not all glitz and glamour for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up too. Cause I think I've got really, a supportive group. My husband's supportive, my friends are supportive, and I feel like I'm a pretty high achiever, but there's sometimes I'm like, oh, the taxes. I know. It's right. But like, it's
I haven't even gotten there.
Right. It's like, sometimes it's like, I'm tired. I would rather just, sit on the couch and watch Netflix versus write some marketing pieces or create something in that way. Right. So it's kind of like, it is so helpful to have a community that can provide that accountability, that knows what you're going through too. I think it's great to have the friends and all of that, but I'm in a community now with other women who are, building their businesses, whether they have a full-time job as well, or this is their main, or they have multiple businesses. And just it's an everyday, I'm inspired. I'm I can do that.
It fuels you for sure.
It does. It's so great. So I tell people, like, even if you can't, if you don't need a coach, or I would argue maybe we could all benefit from a coach.
We all can benefit from it. I tell you, that has been the most helpful for me. That is one piece that keeps you accountable for sure. And all 100%. The more when you're paying for it, because you're like, I got to do this,
gotta show up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that honestly has kept me more accountable than anything else, because if you don't, it's kind of like you're wasting your own time and money. So why would you be doing it? You can't do it. But if you don't have a coach right now, it's getting that mentor, getting the friend group or the colleague group or whatever makes sense for you. You're going to probably see those heightened results from a coach. I also recommend people get a therapist. I mean, there's just stuff from the past that we need to work out and work through and declutter. Like you said, the unlearning. There's really a great, beautiful place where I think coaching and therapy work together well.
Absolutely.
Depending on where you're at. Yeah. So
I think it's essential. And I think that there's a lot of taboo and misunderstanding when it comes to therapy, but it's just I'm telling you, therapy is such a beautiful experience. It really can be. It's definitely hard. And it's definitely not fun all the time, yet we can hold both, right? We can have fun and we can also have hard, and we can also have beautiful, and we can also have where it doesn't feel so comfortable and it feels like really yucky, yet super fruitful and necessary. So that, I would say, therapy has made all the difference for me and really transformed my life for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely say my experiences in therapy and coaching have helped me in so many ways, personally, in my business, my mindset. It's like a daily thing, right? It's our mindset every single day. So it's like, how are we going to, we've got to unlearn, right? We've got to learn new things, we've got to retrain our brain, we got to retire. There's a lot that we
be very mindful of the narratives that you're telling yourself. And that's the story that we feed ourselves in terms of what we have lived, what we have experienced, and the way we interpret that experience really plays out in the way we live today. And if we don't like what we have today, then we have to reflect, not for the sake of living in the past, right? But for the sake of empowering ourselves from it and utilizing it as a tool rather than, some people say like, oh, but why live in the past? Like you can't change it, right? Absolutely, you cannot change it. But let me tell you, whether you realize it or not, it is playing a role in the way you function today. And it is not until we unlock it, right? Take it out of the closet, take a look at it, study it, understand it, being gracious with yourself in the process of it. Super necessary in order for you to then actually to move forward. And it's not necessarily, I struggle with the concept of letting go, because I think life itself, the experience, it will forever be a part of your story. How does it play a role in your story? That is for you to decide. And that's the narrative that we're telling ourselves and that we can always alter and redefine for ourselves.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. As a, I'm a practitioner and recipient of both therapy and coaching. And that was just really, it puts a nice little bow on all of that, because you're right.
Yeah.
And the more that we can do to, heal from the past stuff, clear the clutter, be able to see things in a new way, reframe things in a new way, and grow toward our goals, that's how we're going to see that ultimate success and have that joy and peace in our life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I agree. I love it. Therapy is definitely crucial, and one of the pieces that in Seizing You, we don't do therapy. I'm not licensed, but I am definitely an advocate. I'm the first one that will tell you, please, and I will walk you through that process.
Yeah.
Let's dig into the insurance. Let's dig into your providers. Let's figure out who's a good fit, and we're going to get you there.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's a conversation too, having with coaching clients. It's being able to say, let's assess, what you're looking for, what your needs are. And, could there be an element of therapy as well that could be helpful?
Certainly.
Or, are you in a place where it's just coaching right now, or could you benefit from both? Right. So it's for everyone's own journey, and we're both here to support y'all listening and tuning in today to get there to that next step. So it's a safe place to talk about these things and encourage you to get whatever support that you need. So I'm so excited for you and your journey. And what final thoughts or advice may you leave for our listeners today?
I would say to take hold of the freedom to forge your own standards of being. And that comes from just my experience of having to unlearn that I don't have to be the roles that I play or be defined by them. I also don't have to be what others expect me to be. And in that, I think there's the beauty of understanding that there's a woman that is inside of you that has always been. And she remains regardless of whether you acknowledge her or not. And it is a beautiful, fruitful, super rewarding journey to get to know her.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to get to know her and you want to align with her. That has been the journey for me of really taking the time to reflect my inner world, my inner experience, and what that woman within needs, and bringing it forth in the life that I choose to carry out.
Again, beautifully said. So you need to be up on speaking, right? Sharing it. I mean, you're such a great speaker. So I welcome it.
I welcome it.
I love that. Yay. Great. Great. Julix, tell us how folks can get a hold of you. Of course, we'll put the details right in the notes, but tell us where you hang out or what.
So we're mainly right now in Instagram. So it's at Seizing You. And you can also email me at seizingyou@gmail.com.
Awesome. Wonderful. Yes. So we encourage folks to reach out with any questions, comments, support, all of that good stuff. Get involved in the community.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on today and sharing. So we definitely want you to check out Seizing You. We definitely want you to be active in our Bigger, Braver Life community on Facebook. If you do need coaching support, feel free to reach out to me as well at angelamarie.co. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will catch you in the next episode.